I'm joined by UMass Boston softball coach Natalia Ardagna. Coach, how are you doing? What have you been doing to keep busy during the pandemic?
I'm doing as good as can be expected during a pandemic. We're healthy and just trying to stay busy and trying to focus on, hopefully having a season. But, I'm looking forward to getting back on the field.
How have you stayed connected with your team and tried to find some positives during this time?
I've been checking in with them individually and as a group. I think for me, I think it was really important just to make sure that, how they were doing mentally. This is a big change for all of us, but, especially where they're at different phases in their collegiate career, it brings its own challenges. I didn't have a freshman year, or I might not have a senior year, or I didn't have a senior year. So, there are a lot of unknowns, and I think it's just the instability is causing, a lot of anxiety, but, we're just trying to keep our eye on the prize and hopefully do the right things to, keep moving forward.
Softball was the only program to not get at least one official game in last spring. So it'll be about 22 months since your last game as a program, whenever you do get to play that first game. What will that moment mean to you, and what will it mean to the program?
I haven't even thought about the amount of time that it's been. I mean, if you really think about it, the last time, I think Kelly Dennehy said it, my seniors have taken a live at bat was when they were sophomores. And that is kind of wild to wrap your head around. I think there's going to be a lot of emotions. I mean, grateful. I'm definitely going to be grateful, just to be around them and to be able to be in the same area as them and to work on things. They're student athletes, and half of them has been missing for, as you said, 22 months. And it's just as much as they're student athletes, I'm a coach. And so not coaching has been super difficult. So I can only imagine, what they're feeling and the anticipation that they probably have about, the potential of a season.
When you go back to that last game, you're talking about the 2019 LAC Championship Series. You started 7 juniors and seniors combined. What did those two classes mean to the program, bringing the 3 straight LAC Championship Series? And how do you go about replacing not only that group in terms of their talent, but their experience, having started all those games, and now you have such a young group with only a handful of players who have starting experience?
Having graduated, those two classes, I mean, they're irreplaceable. And I think from a coaching perspective, it's really difficult to look at it and say, hey, how do I replace Roxanne Bento's bat? Or, how do I replace Gigi at shortstop? Or, Jess Greenspan, or, just going through the whole list, how do I replace them? And I think for me, the answer was not so much how do I replace them, but how can we mold our game differently to fit the personnel that we have? I think the two classes, the freshman class from last year and this freshman class this year, I think have a lot to offer. And I'm really excited to see, what they bring. I think the success that we've had in the past is awesome. And it is the pinnacle of, their careers and certainly mine. So, I definitely think we obviously want to be back in that spotlight, but, I'm going to just kind of be grateful for the process, and just be grateful of developing new players and getting to know them and kind of seeing what this personality of this team is going to be like.
You talk about having essentially 2 freshman classes along with a sophomore class that didn't get to see a lot of time. What areas are you going to have to focus on working on, knowing that you're going to have a shortened preseason of practices to bring your very young team up to
I
speed?
think first and foremost is really just making sure that mentally we're in a good space. They've been doing a lot of work, on their own physically and mentally, and I'm really proud of the work that they've put in. And I think that they are also going to be extremely grateful, if they get the opportunity to step on the field. So I think mentally and team chemistry is going to be first and foremost, and just trying to ease the transition of, not playing a competitive sport for almost 2 years and then, stepping onto the field. So I think there's definitely going to be, an adjustment for that. So, and I think, secondly, from a coaching perspective, just live at bats. I mean, it's going to be really, really difficult. I mean, some of the girls have been playing throughout the summer, especially the freshmen coming in. So I'm not super worried about the younger players. It's the older players where, they rely on their experience and their live at bats and their conference play to kind of motivate them and to make adjustments. So they haven't had that in a while. So I think really just making sure that we're concentrating on getting our timing down and trying to develop things and not ask too much of our players too soon. I really, as much as I say I'm going to enjoy the process of, getting to know them and developing them, I want them to be able to do that as well.
With that, it kind of leads into my next question. You've got a pandemic going on. You have players who haven't had a live bat in 2 years. You graduated a couple big classes. Do you have to adjust your expectations for your team during preseason, but also different parts of the season? Maybe you're not where you'd like to be midway point of the year, and the focus is on getting to that point, going into the playoffs, and hopefully peaking at that point of the year.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think, there has to be an adjustment of expectations. You can't, I can't expect the same level of play, that I expected, in the 2018, LEC championship game. I mean, that's an unrealistic goal. Other teams in the LEC have been practicing since February 1st. So they're obviously going to have a little bit more of an advantage. Um, so I do have to adjust the expectations, but I'm not super worried about, what they're going to do, what their productivity is going to be. Like when they get on the field, I just know that they are so ready and so hopeful to be able to step onto the field that, I'm pretty confident that that alone is going to carry us into, the development and tightening things up and just provide the motivation that we need, to get better at a quicker pace.
The one thing you have been able to do over the last 22 months is recruit, and you brought in what looked like a great freshman class last year. Obviously, didn't get to play what looks like another really good freshman class this year. When you and your staff are going out and recruiting, what are you looking for in a prospective student athlete?
I think for us, somebody that's passionate. I really like the players that have a lot of energy when they're on the field. I like when they're not afraid to be themselves. I like seeing, athletes that are athletic and not just, kind of pigeonholed into one position. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's always one or two that are position specific, but I really just try to look at, how they interact with their teammates, how they interact with their coach. I mean, those indications, you can have all the talent in the world, and if those things don't line up with what our expectations are, it's not going to really work. So, we really try to focus on things that are important in our program and see if we can find those qualities, in student athletes, and talking to their summer ball coaches and, people that have played with them, just kind of doing our research, I think is really important. You know, you can only, you don't really know until, they get here and you see their personality a little bit more. And then you just have to make adjustments from there. But, those are really the things that we like to start is, athleticism and being vocal and energetic.
Coach, I really appreciate your time. I'm really excited to see the team back out there and hopefully getting that first game in sooner rather than later. And good luck to your team this spring.
Thanks, Seth.